In this video, I will provide you with a way that you might be able to use to figure out the overall total rise in a stairway that you cannot just simply grab a measuring tape and measure from the upper level to the lower level because you might have other obstacles in the way preventing it. So let's go ahead and jump into this. The first thing you can do will be to simply grab a level and draw some level lines around the walls if this will work for you. I'm not about to suggest that something like this will work all the time because you don't want to have a line going all the way around your wall. And if that's the case, you don't want a line going around the entire wall. You might be fine with using a level and then just making a mark at the corner, a small mark that you might be able to remove. And I've even made marks like this with a knife, just a little teeny slit that most people are never going to see. And if you need to use a straight edge, a straight board, because your level isn't long enough, then you can always use something like that also. Straight edge or a long board or a longer level. And again, you're going to end up doing the same thing, putting a mark in the other corner. And of course, from this point here, we will grab another straight edge and the level and then go ahead and make another mark. And of course, this mark right here will be the mark we're going to use to figure out the total rise or the difference between the lower level and the upper level. And of course, that method will work if you don't have carpeting. If you have carpeting, it could create another problem. And you might even have a difficult time figuring out the exact total rise, even if you use this method here. So what I'm suggesting here is that you create some type of a component that you can attach to the carpeting, something that will provide you with a firm and secure attachment. And to do this, you could grab a scrap piece of plywood and then screw it into a 2x4 to create some type of a platform like this that can also be screwed and attached to the flooring. And I'll leave it up to you as to how many screws you use. And usually screws can go through the carpeting without creating any problems. However, if this is going to create a problem for you, then I don't suggest using this method. And of course, all you need to do is have the 2x4s a little taller than the top of a landing or the next location that you're going to use so that you can level across to create the first section of the total rise. And of course, this mark can be anywhere here that is lower than the top of this 2x4 or this particular board. And you can always set the level on top of this board also. And of course, the main thing we're trying to do is create level sections that we can measure later. So after we have created a level line here with our level, we can simply mark this 2x4 to create our first leg or our first measurement line, and then simply work our way up the stairway. Like I said, you can put the level on top of it, or I could have this a little bit lower, just as long as I'm creating level sections that I will be able to measure later to figure out the overall total rise. And again, with carpeting and padding, you could end up with a small variation when figuring out the total rise. And of course, all we're going to do here is measure from here to here, and then from here to here, and then from this point here to the top of the carpeting, and then add each one of these measurements together to figure out the total rise. And if you don't like either one of those ideas, you can create a water level and simply hold one end of the water level up, even or flush with the top of the flooring, and then simply work your way over to the other side where the water level can be marked, and then allowing you to measure from this point to figure out the overall total rise for your stairway. That can be used later to figure out the individual riser heights for each step. And in my opinion, if you're looking for accuracy, something like this is probably going to provide you with the best. method, especially if your levels are not perfectly level. So keep that in mind also. Check your levels to make sure they are working correctly before using them and finding out that you're a quarter of an inch, a half inch, or even an inch off when trying to figure the total rise for your stairway.